I could ramble on all day about what we saw from Evan Mobley, what we saw from Darius Garland, but there's just a lot more to talk about here. I see the questions popping up. I guess I'll jump out of order here. JT JT Thor. I don't know. Adam Turk says, thoughts on JT possibly running the three at this point this season. I'm assuming you're talking about Jaylon Tyson. Love the idea of him guarding Tatum, PG, Giannis, and others. A defensive nightmare matchup. No, you are talking about JT Thor. Okay, I love it. So what we know about JT Thor is that he has primarily suited up at the 4 and 5 positions. But if you paid attention to him at college, one of the things that he was highly touted for was his defensive versatility, the potential that he has on that defensive side of the ball. That's what you were getting from him out coming out straight out of college. But he has theoretically that ability to play the 3, play the 4, play the 5. He's kind of a hybrid in that sense, right? But he just hasn't necessarily been used that way. Per Cleaning the Glass, he suited up at mostly the power forward position, where he's played 83% of his minutes last year and 91% the year prior. But interestingly enough, he did play nearly half of his minutes at small forward during his rookie season. So keep that in mind. That hints at that positional versatility that I'm talking about. He was a quality rim protector at the college level, racking up about 1.4 blocks per game, which was 8th in the SEC conference that season, and is averaging 1.1 blocks per 36 minutes through his 3 years in the league. He's got some switchability to him, and I think we can all see that. You have to be able to I don't think you want to put him in bad spots, right? If you're talking about, and I know this is like ideally, and this is in a perfect world, right? But placing him on matchups like Tatum and PG and Giannis, that's tough. That's a tough thing, man. That is a tough thing to ask him to do. I think if that is who you're referring to, if you are referring to JT Thor. But I absolutely loved what I saw out of Thor tonight. Enough, in fact, that I believe, and I know he's on the 2-way deal, and that's a whole hurdle within itself, because there is a limit. I believe it's 50 games that they can appear at the NBA level. So they're going to have to figure out when or if they want to convert JT's contract, because you still have other guys down there, another player who we're going to talk about here, Luke Travers, as Tom K's mentioned down here, and Amani Bates, obviously, who just suffered the torn meniscus, the partially torn meniscus, if I'm not mistaken, and just had surgery on that. But JT Thor, to me, when you're talking about the holes and the flaws on this roster, backup big is probably the biggest one right now. And with all due respect to Tristan Thompson, who we all know and love, and will always respect him for his contributions to the 2016 champion Cavaliers, Tristan Thompson is not really a dependable guy at this point in his career. He can come off the bench, give you a little spark in terms of rebounding. He can hold his own defensively in specific matchups. When I have a piece of content coming out about my expectations to close out that series with the bigs, and in it I talked about how Tristan Thompson in some of his matchups, specifically against players like Joel Embiid, can still hold his own. But when you look at what he offers right now, it's not enough to me to warrant rotational minutes. And this is assuming that Kenny Atkinson will want to even play Thompson in the first place. But with the fact that you're literally going to be rotating Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen at that 5 position, meaning one is probably going to be on the floor near all times, or one is going to be playing that backup 5 position consistently, whether that is Evan Mobley essentially functioning as your backup 5 when Jarrett Allen is not out there, you're going to want to give these guys breathers, right? And so one of the ways that you can possibly accomplish that is by playing JT Thor. You can still go back to Tristan Thompson if you need to, but when you look at what he could potentially offer you from a spacing standpoint, from a defensive standpoint, we talk about the switchability from the youth, right? We know that Tristan Thompson is what he is at this point in time. JT Thor is still very fucking young, right? So you look at what he has done from 3-point distance throughout his career. It's not great, right? Just 32% from range, but that's a hell of a lot more than what Tristan Thompson has done throughout his career from 3-point distance. So there's been some potential floor spacing element to his game. And like I mentioned, he's still very young, just 22 years of age. Will be 22 when the season starts in just a couple of weeks. And on the defensive end, he's more mobile. He can still give you that level of rim protection that Tristan Thompson would be doing. And then again, the versatility that he showcases, you can play anywhere between 3 through 5. I don't know how comfortable Kenny would be placing him out there in lineups as like a tall ass three, but it's certainly something that has been hinted at in his game, as I mentioned, right? From a positional standpoint, just go check out Cleveland the Glass. 83% of his minutes at the power forward last year, 91% the year before, and then he did actually play the bulk of his minutes. However, very short, just 190 total minutes his rookie season. 49% of those came at the small forward position. So it's definitely possible. And I know that Kenny Atkinson is probably going to play around with some fun lineups, but I love the idea of what Thor could present you. He was a low cost, just kind of flyer pickup on that two-way, and that's the type of thing that you need the Cavaliers in this new CBA to hit on. You need to be able to develop in-house talent. Not just guys you draft, but young players that you pick up on two ways, guys that you're bringing into your organization and you're playing them at the G League level with the charge. JT Thor is one of those guys that the Cavaliers could definitely develop into a real rotational caliber player. I get it. His time with Charlotte is what it is. That I wouldn't necessarily call that franchise dysfunctional or anything like that, but it's not in a stable position. And it's just it's one of those things. I'm laughing because I'm seeing the name pop up down here. But JT Thor definitely has a lot of intrigue for me. I would love to see him eventually become the true backup big to Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. And we don't have to rush him along, but he's certainly a candidate to be converted this year, the same way that Craig Porter Jr. was the year prior. And, we have a pretty long-standing tradition of converting these two ways, whether you're talking about Dean Wade, you're talking about Lamar Stevens. You can go even further back than that, but you see where I'm going with this. JT Thor seems to offer a lot, so I love it. Leonardo T says, I really wanted Thor to finish that poster dunk. You and me both, man. You and me both. But you saw what he can provide. Jay Quest says 17 guys got minutes tonight, 18 minutes or less. Chicago played 15 and 5 saw 20 to 25 minutes. Yeah, I mean, it's preseason. You're going to see stuff like this, right? You got to take it with a grain of salt. But even with that being the case, we have legitimate evidence to suggest that Kenny Atkinson will play deep into his rotations because that's what he's done throughout his career in his one and only head coaching stop with the Brooklyn Nets, where he routinely played 10 or 11 players.